Good morning. Today we are going to be studying the Gospel according to Spiritism. Elmo is on a well-deserved vacation this week, so I'll take over. We are going to study chapter 26, which is Give Freely What You Have Received Freely. And it is a very important chapter for us Spiritists, and for those in this country that are used to religious practices that involve money all the time, right? In terms of charging of donations and all the other things. And also it is, we've been doing this for more than 20 years here in the US, and it's always a difficult obstacle, the doing everything for free that Spiritism and Kardec proposed to us. It's a little easier in Brazil to accept because a lot of the Brazilians are used to get things without paying and being happy with it. In the US, the phrase "there is no such thing as a free lunch" is very well disseminated. So the concept that you are doing something for free means that there is something in return that you are going to ask. So it is a concept that we need to explain very well in Spiritism for the newcomers. Once it's understood, it starts making sense. And this chapter of the Gospel is the one that best explains the concept of why we have to give it for free. But again, what you have received freely, and that's very important because it's not when you pay to learn something and you apply your own effort, there is nothing wrong in charging for it. What Spiritism tells us is things that you haven't done anything to get them, meaning the ability to communicate with the spirits, the ability to provide spiritual healing, that should not be charged because you didn't invest any money in this, in acquiring these talents that come with those, with some and others not. So let's go a little deeper, and we'll find that even in the passages of the Gospels, the original Gospels from Matthew, from Luke, you'll find these passages where Jesus says, "Give for free what you have received for free." Okay, Zoraida, can you read for us?
Yes, of course. Give freely what you have received freely, the gift of healing. Number 1, restore health to the sick, raise the dead, heal lepers, and cast out demons. Give freely what you have received freely. Number 2, give freely what you have received freely. Jesus said to his disciples, by this precept, he prescribes that one should not charge for something that one has not paid for. What the disciples have received freely was the faculty of healing the sick and casting out demons, that is, evil spirits. This gift was given to them freely by God for the relief of those who were suffering and for the spreading of the faith. He told them not to make a business of it, an object of speculation or way to make a living.
Okay, so the gift of healing here, Jesus was talking about those that go out and heal according to their own faculties. Not, of course, there was no medicine courses, paid medicine courses at the time of Jesus. But again, when we bring that to to Spiritism nowadays, right? We know that we need to heal the physical body, and we need to heal the spiritual body. They are connected, and there is no such thing as healing only the physical body and not healing the spiritual body, because you are going to temporarily heal the person, but you are not going to heal the spirit. When Jesus cured the lepers, the 10 lepers, and told them to go and tell the 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 Pharisees that you were cured, and only one came back. He said, "Where are the others?" And he said they went about their business. And Jesus said, "You were healed because of your desire to be healed, and your belief in being healed. The others, they have healed their physical body, but immediately they went back to their material concerns, so they wouldn't be healed for the spirit wouldn't be healed." So again, let's make it very clear here. There is nothing wrong. Doctors that study 6, 7, 8 years dedicated their time and their money to learn a profession to charge for the healing. Again, separate what you receive for free from what you invested money and effort. And again, the healing of the physical body should be done by professionals that understand what is needed. Now, when you have what we always say on people that come to our Mondays fraternal assistance spiritual treatment with physical problems, have you exhausted the medicine alternatives, the investigations, if there is anything physical with it? If you have, then the spiritual treatment is going to may help. Again, we cannot guarantee cure. Not even Jesus guaranteed any cure. Jesus said, "Come to me, all you who are sick, and I will alleviate your pain," more or less, right? That's what he said. He didn't say, I will cure you, because even Jesus, he knew that some could be cured and some had to go through the disease, the physical experience for karmic reasons, right? And again, our physical body, it's temporary and stays. So it is subject to natural wear and tear, let's say. So, there reaches a point that there is no cure for the physical pain. But we need to focus on healing this eternal spirit that can be healed and will be healed with time, depending on the belief and the understanding and the desire, maybe in the spiritual world, maybe after a new incarnation, several ways to heal. But for those that have the gift of healing, meaning the gift of maybe magnetic healing, like when you talk about spiritual healing and magnetic healing, spiritual healing is when we are intermediates of the spirits that are healing the ones receiving passes. And magnetic healing is with energies and fluids provided by the path giver to the one receiving Some have more of this ability, others have less. But again, the magnetic ability, the fluids that some have and some have more, some have less, it's not something that you acquire, that you can buy. It's something that either you have or you don't, like mediumship. So again, you receive it for free, you have to give it for free. So again, it's not an easy concept here in this country, but it is something that we must be able to explain for those that are looking to understand Spiritism and are new to Spiritism, because it is a key feature of Spiritism is not to charge for services. Again, of course, we have a center, we have to pay the bills, we have to pay the rent. So we live with donations, the sale of books, donations, things like that, and that's absolutely part of what we have to do. But you cannot charge for people that are coming to receive treatments, for people that are coming to learn, to receive classes. That's not what Spiritism is about. Okay? Questions here? Okay, so now we go to paid prayers, which that's something that has less to do with Spiritism and more to do with other religions. But again, I've seen people coming to Spiritist centers and trying to buy prayers, which is not with money, but with asking favors and things like that. So let's see what Kardec tells us in the Spirit. Zoraida.
Okay. Paid prayers. Number 3. He then said to his disciples in the presence of all the people listening to him, guard yourselves against the scribes who walk around in long robes to show themselves, who love to be greeted in the public squares and to occupy the best seats in the synagogues and feasts, who under the pretext of long prayers devour widows' houses. For doing so, such persons will receive a harsher condemnation. Continue?
Yes.
Okay, number 4. Jesus also said, do not make anyone pay for your prayers. Do not do like the scribes who, under the pretext of long prayers, devour widows' houses, which means to seize their wealth. Prayer is an act of charity, an impulse of the heart. To be paid for a prayer addressed to God for someone else is to make oneself a paid intermediary. Prayer in this case is a formula whose length is in the proportion to the amount of money it yields. Well then, one of the two things applies. Either God measures or does not measure his blessings by the number of words. If many words are necessary, why say only a few of them or none at all for those who cannot pay? This is a lack of charity. If only one is enough, then more are pointless. So why make them pay? It is an abuse of trust. God does not sell the benefits he grants. Why then would someone who is not even the benefits distributor and who cannot guarantee the obtainment demand payment for a request that might not be answered? God cannot make an act of clemency, goodness, or justice that is requested from the divine mercy be dependent on a sum of money. Otherwise, the consequences would be that if the sum were not paid or if it were insufficient, God's clemency, goodness, and justice would be withheld. Reason, common sense, and logic state that God, the absolute perfection, could not delegate to imperfect individuals the right to put a price on divine justice. God's justice is like the sun. It is for everybody, for the rich as much as the poor. If the selling of favors by an earthly sovereign is regarded as immoral, is it any more legitimate to sell those of sovereign of the universe? Paid prayers have another drawback. Those who buy them very often believe that they themselves do not have to pray because they have given their money. We know that spirits are touched by the fervor of the thought of those who take an interest in them. What could be the fervor of someone who arranged for a third party to pray for them by paying for it? What is the fervor of this third party when he or she delegates this task to another, and that one yet to another, and so on and so forth? Does that not reduce the prayer's effectiveness to the value of a particular currency?
This is very interesting and very direct, right? And it goes direct to all the religions. Remember, this was written in 1864, and at that time where the society was still under a very strong domination of the church, and the church was used to charge, to ask for donations, to charge for prayers, and it still does, right? If you want to have a mass for a loved one that has died, you have to pay the church. If in some evangelical religions, cults, if you have, if you want to be saved, you have to donate 10% of your salary. And Kardec gives us here very logical, reasonable explanations. Again, Spiritism is a doctrine of reason. We have to reflect, we have to think, we have to make sense of things. Jesus says, do not make anyone pay for your prayers. Meaning, prayer, when we understand prayer, is an act of charity, an impulse of the heart. And if we believe that God, the Creator, it's all powerful, all just, all merciful, then, if I'm paying someone else for something, I'm not paying God anything. I'm just paying an intermediary that claims to be closer to God than I am. And, as Kardec says here, either God measures us or does not measure his blessings by the number of words. And it doesn't make sense if we think of God as all just or powerful or merciful, that a number of words would count, right? I said 1,000 times here, but let's go back to Mother Teresa again, right? When they asked her, when she pray, what does she say to God? She said, I don't say anything, I just listen. And then the reporter asked, and what does God say to you? And she replied, God doesn't say anything. God just listens. Again, there is no need of words to have a direct connection with God. It comes from the heart. Again, when we talk about prayer in Spiritism, we have to understand that there are different types of prayer, right? When you are asking for something, for help, or you are thanking for something that you have received, some blessings you have received, you don't need to say words, you don't need to say out loud, you just need to connect with God, elevating your thoughts. Now, when you are praying for, in your gospel at home, weekly gospel at home, that you are saying a prayer, and there you expect to be helping and assisting the spirits that are brought to your home to receive what they need, then words are necessary, because these spirits may not be able to read your thoughts, or mostly are not able to read your thoughts. So they need to hear your voice, they need to hear your words, and they need to have a prayer, comprehensive prayer, in the sense of making sense to them. Okay, so then words are needed, words and a logical sense of a prayer is needed. Okay, when we do the final prayer or the opening prayer at our studies, why we do it? It's not a ritual. It's to when we are opening the studies to harmonize everyone that is present here, to harmonize our thoughts, to elevate our thoughts, for the spirits that are present also studying and learning with us, for them also to connect with us. And when we do our closing prayer, the same thing, to thank for the opportunity, to ask for protection, for blessings throughout the week. So words are necessary in some prayers. But again, we need to remember that if it's a communication between you and God directly, with no need for anyone else to be involved, words are not necessary. People have the bad habit of thinking that their prayer is not powerful enough, and sometimes they need to ask someone else to pray for them. Even Spiritism, a lot of times people come to us and say, pray for me, because your prayer is more effective, more powerful, or something. And again, whenever we are delegating the request, we are showing a lack of belief in ourselves, a lack of connection with God and the superior spirit. And we need to believe that they are there. We need to understand. It's not even believe. We need to know that they are there to help us. It's just a matter of us connecting to them. Our guardian angel, our familiar spirits, God, they are all prepared to help us, to assist us. But we need to do our part, which is to open to them or to God. There is I think it's a Buddhist or an Eastern religion, I don't know where I heard it from, a phrase that I like very much that says that there are 1,000 veils between us and God. There are no veils between God and us. So we create 1,000 obstacles to reach God. There are no obstacles between God and us. God is always inside of us, ready to help and assist us, as long as we do our part. Again, we have our free will. So Kardec again goes here with reason, right? God cannot make an act of clemency, goodness, or justice be dependent on a sum of money. Otherwise, the consequence would be that if the sum were not paid, you were insufficient. And then God's clemency, goodness, and justice would be withheld. Again, reason, common sense, logic state that God could not delegate to imperfect individuals the right to put a price on divine justice. And again, divine justice is eternal justice. It's not a justice of the physical life, right? So sometimes we are praying and asking for something, or asking someone to pray for us, or paying someone else to pray for us, to ask for favors that we do not merit, we do not need, and we shouldn't have, actually. And we have a limited vision of our incarnation and life here on earth. And most of the times we think of our immediate problems and concerns, and we are not concerned about the eternal spirit. Again, logic. If you pay someone to pray for you, the person, if it's a stranger, if you go to a church and you will pay for someone to pray for you, the stranger has no personal connection with you. It's going to be a um, pre-prepared prayer that comes out of a book or out of something. How can you guarantee that that person has any connection with God? We are studying the book Between Heaven and Earth, and we studied a couple of months ago the analysis of the masses at church, right? And André Luiz learned that the important masses are the early ones, because the ones that go to the very early ones are the ones really interested in praying and receiving the benefits. Those that go to the church for social appearances go in the inconvenient hours of 11 a.m. or noon. So the spiritual energy of that mass is not as elevated as a spiritual energy of a 7 a.m. mass, which those that are there are those that are really interested in praying and receiving the blessings. And again, I'm not saying here that someone that doesn't understand any of this, but that sincerely needs help and sincerely pays to receive the help, is not going to be help, because it's according to our needs, our necessity, and our merit that we are going to receive assistance. So we are not going to say that those that pay are never going to receive anything. They may. What we're saying here is that paying for prayers is unnecessary and ineffective. And paying for masses, paying for anything related to religion, it's not necessary. If you want to help your church because your church is helping the poor and it's doing a good work in helping the poor, it's you understand the work that your church is doing, yes, please help and donate. But if the money, you don't know where it's going to the pockets of the owners of the religions, which is many cases what happens in some of these religious congregations, then it's our obligation to think twice. Again, it's a delicate subject. It's something that we've been doing for centuries, or even more than centuries, since the church became official religion of the state around 380 after coming of Jesus. So it's very difficult to change the concept in only 150 years. But again, Spiritism asks us to reason, to make sense of it. Does it make sense to pay for someone else to pray for you? Does it make sense for you to pay to receive things of spiritual nature? We need to reach our own conclusions on that. Okay? Questions, comments here? Okay.
Okay.
The merchants expelled from the temple.
Number 5. They then came to Jerusalem, and Jesus, having entered the temple, began to expel those who were buying and selling there. He overturned the tables of the money changers and the seats of those who were selling doves. He allowed no one to carry any waves through the temple. He also taught them, saying, "Is not my house to be called the house of prayer for all the nations? But you have made it a den of thieves." When the chief priests heard this, they sought a means to kill him, for they feared him because all the people were taken by wonder at his doctrine. Number 6, Jesus expelled the merchants from the temple, thereby condemning the selling of holy things in any form whatsoever. God sells neither the divine blessings, forgiveness, nor entry into the kingdom of heaven. Humans, therefore, have no right to require payment for them.
Yeah. This is a passage of the life of Jesus that I believe is misinterpreted, because in the way it's described in the Gospels, it says that Jesus got angry and started overturning the tables in a fit, and screaming at the vendors of the temple. And you know, for us, understanding that Jesus was a perfect spirit, and when he incarnated here on earth, not reincarnated. Reincarnation is a necessity. Jesus did not need to reincarnate. So incarnation. When Jesus incarnated here on earth, he he was already a perfect spirit. So a perfect spirit doesn't lose the temper, doesn't lose the patience, doesn't get angry, right? Because these are imperfections that a perfect spirit does not have. So how can we interpret what happened there? Jesus arrives at the temple and he's always trying to teach us. So when he looked at the vendors, when he arrived there and he started talking to them and talking to the disciples and saying words of denouncing the selling of holy things, my understanding would be that it was not him that overturned the tables. It was his followers that, of course, were not far from perfect spirits, and following his teachings, decided to expel the vendors. What Jesus was trying to teach us here, again, is that you cannot sell blessings, you cannot sell holy things, and knowing the Judaism, they are used to sell. They were used at that time to sell holy things, to sell things for people to to use for sacrifices in the temple, right? So people that had money had to buy things to donate to the temple, to receive blessings. And that's what, if you could not bring your own gold or your own things to donate to the temple, you could buy at the door of the temple holy things and then donate to the temple. And this is what Jesus was trying to teach us, that selling of holy things are not going to get you closer to God. Actually, on the contrary, is going to get you more distant from God, because again, you are involved in material things, in things of the physical nature, exchanging of money and or of possessions, and that does not get us close to God. Again, Jesus said, before going to he said, before going to the temple and donate, go out and reconcile with your enemies. Meaning, it's much more important to make peace with our enemies than make any donations, because the donations are not going to give us any benefits. But if you make peace with your enemy, it helps you on your moral evolution. Again, the making peace with the enemy means on your side to overcome the anger, the desire of vengeance, the hatred. Doesn't mean anything regards to your enemy, because they have to do their own work. But on our part, the moment we move from hatred, from desire of persecution, to at least to indifference, we have moved forward and we have overcome a problem that we created for ourselves that would need to be solved in the future if we don't do the act of reconciliation. So again, Jesus telling us there is no reason for us to buy anything or to sell anything for our so-called salvation, which is an internal thing. It's a direct connection between us and God. Okay? All right. Mediumship free of charge. Now we get to mediumship, which is also very delicate, because in this country, mediumship is charged everywhere, right? For those that are outside Spiritism.
Okay. Mediumship free of charge. Number 7, modern mediums. Because the disciples also possessed mediumship, also have received a free gift from God, that of being the interpreters of spirits for the instruction of humankind, to show them the pathway to the good and to lead them to faith, and not to sell them words that do not belong to them, because they are not the product of their personal conception, research, or personal labor. God wills for the light to reach everybody. God does not will for the poorest person to be disinherited from it or to be kept from it by saying, I do not have faith because I could not pay for it. I could not have the consolation of receiving the encouragement and the displays of affection of those whom I weep for, because I am poor. That is why mediumship is not a privilege and is found everywhere. To receive payment for its practice would thus be to divert it from its providential purpose.
Okay, let's go here. First, modern mediums. Mediumship existed always. Since the time that one spirit was incarnated, one discarnated, mediumship existed. It's a characteristic of the incarnated spirit. We are all mediums in the sense that we have all connection. We all have connections with the spiritual world. If not, how could we listen to inspirations from spirits, from our guardian angel, from our familiar spirits, right? So we are all mediums. It always existed. Now, ostensive mediumship, right? Which is the ability to communicate with the spirits in a more ostensive way and produce something out of it. That's what we are discussing here. The disciples also possessed mediumship. The ability to heal, it's a type of mediumship. You receive that for free. You either come with this ability or of an ostensive medium, or you don't. You can educate your mediumship. You cannot develop your mediumship. Many times you hear, I need to develop my mediumship. It doesn't exist in the strict sense, because you either have it or you don't. And if you have it, you need to educate it to use it in a positive way, or in a way that mediumship was intended for, which is to help and assist humankind. They are, as Kardec says, they are not products of their personal conception, research, or personal labor, in the sense that it's something that they are born with. It's not something that you go to there are many mediumship courses outside throughout this country that you go there to learn to be a medium. And what happens to people that are not mediums that go to these courses? Nothing. They pay money and they don't become a medium. What happened to people that have they are mediums, but don't know how to control it. They can be harmed by the suddenly open the mediumship that they don't know how to control. Laura, that works in our mediumship meeting, and is not here today, unfortunately, but she could tell her experience, because she was always a medium, and she experienced mediumship phenomena in her home from the very early ages, and it became something of a burden to her. She tried to learn about it. She went to several different courses, and things were only getting worse when she came to SGNY and learned how to educate her mediumship. Again, you cannot block your mediumship. It's something that if you have it, you have to educate, you have to learn how to use it. And again, to use your mediumship, it's not necessarily you need to be part of a mediumship meeting. If you are working in a hospital, helping the sick on a voluntary work, you are using your mediumship. If you are giving healing to those in need, and healing in the sense of talking to them, trying to help and assist them, trying to do charitable work, you are using your mediumship. Your mediumship will not become a burden to you. If you are trying to control your mediumship, if you are trying to suppress your mediumship, you cannot. Eventually, you will come out, and you will need to learn how to educate it. How do we address mediumship here in this country, where all mediums charge to receive, the psychics and the mediums that receive communications from spirit? We can only explain what Spiritism tells us and the reasons why. We understand that someone that makes a living out of it, it's going to be very hard for the person to stop doing what they do and have no means of living anymore, because that's all they do, right? So it requires a big change. But what we can explain is the consequences, right? Because like Chico Xavier, by the way, Chico Xavier never charged anything. Could he have become a very rich person if he received royalties for his books or his help or his mediumship, and he never received a penny for it? And even more, all the presents he received, and he received many throughout his life, he never kept anything. He always donated every present that he received, because he used to say, if I keep it, I have the obligation of giving something in return, which I cannot guarantee I have. He was very humble always. So the present is to the spirits, they are not to me, so I give to those who need it. So he never kept anything. Again, he had always people helping him. Otherwise, when he was working, he used to live by the salary, and that gave him the conditions to live. When he was retired, he received a pension, and of course, many people would help him in any possible way to make his conditions of work more easy for him, but he never received anything. And again, he took the concept as a very evolved spirit. He took the concept of Kardec's words very to the heart, right? Like Divaldo does also. Everything that he receives goes to the Mansion of the Way, who helped thousands and thousands of people already. He has more than 3,000 children, as he calls them, right? Which are the result of the work that he does traveling throughout the world, and the result of the books. But coming back to here, to mediums that charge here. When you pay for a medium to give you something, you expect to receive something. And going back to Chico, like he said, the phone rings from there to here, not from here to there. Meaning, if the spirits are not interested in giving the communication, or if you shouldn't receive any communication from the spirits for several different reasons, the medium won't be able to give you anything. So if you paid, you are expecting something. If the medium is an honest medium, he or she will give you back the money. Most cases, they are not. So they are going to give you something. There is no empty space. And if the evolved spirits move away from a medium, other spirits will occupy their place, and they will give you communications that are not necessarily very good ones, but they will answer your questions, and there is no guarantee that has anything to do with you. What we see from communications of these paid mediums is many of the prophecies, or many of the letters they receive, it's very generic, right? And you see these mediums on TV, and they start telling, I'm feeling someone, an old white man here. Okay, so that's half of the audience is white and have an old deceased father, grandfather. So it starts with that. And they died of very, very prolonged disease. Okay, so then you have 10 people that had relatives that died of. So it's generic, and then they start getting this information out there, and there are people that start believe is related to them, and a lot of times it ends up frustrating and only giving more reason for people that denies the existence of the spiritual world, and that label mediums all they're all fake, gives them reasons, because there is a lot of fake mediums out there, or there is a lot of mediums that part of the work is real and part of the work is fake, because once you are paid, you are getting results. So it's very complicated. Now, when you don't charge anything, you are working because that's what is given to you. You have no interest in giving anything that you don't have. So you sit in front of a person that asks, "Oh, is there any spirit here telling me something?" And if there is not, you say, "No, there's not. There's no one here." And if there is something that you should receive, yes. Going back to Chico, last part of his life, he dedicated a lot of time to receiving letters to people that lost loved ones. And every night there were hundreds of people there to receive the letters. And I don't know, 10, 20 people received the letters from loved ones. What about the other 280, let's say, if it's 300 people? They didn't receive anything because their loved ones were not there, not prepared, or because they themselves were not prepared to receive communications from loved ones. So again, we need to fully understand the concept of mediumship. Mediumship is a gift for the mediums to make good use of it, to help those in need. Anything beyond that, it's an abuse of a gift that you have, and it becomes very dangerous, because when you are using your mediumship for material reasons, you are connecting with spirits that are interested in things related to matter, and we know these are not evolved spirits. And it becomes dangerous because these spirits may like your company and may not want to leave you, and starts to disturb you, and that's how you start having obsessions and spiritual influences that may become more dangerous than obsessions. I think that it's very interesting that they did for the third or fourth time the movie The Exorcist, right? Started it last Friday, I think. And again, this movie generates a lot of questions on possession of spirits, on exorcism, and how Spiritism views exorcism. I just saw a live this week that someone asked how Spiritism view exorcism, right? And the answer from the speaker was very interesting. This movie is great because it tells us that, to tell everybody, yes, there is the spiritual world, right? Otherwise, there will be no connection. Who is this connecting to the obsessed girl, right? Or the girl that is possessed? Well, if you believe that a girl can be possessed, you believe there is the spiritual world, right? Now, after that, how exorcism works, we know in Spiritism that it doesn't work unless you educate both, right? And it's not, you cannot expel a spirit and take care of the incarnated one, because the spirit will wait outside, and when there is opportunity there, it will come back. So exorcism, it only exists in the sense that you can treat both the possessed and the one that possesses, the spirit and the incarnated one. And then by treating both, by educating both, you can free the possessed one. But there is no rituals, there is no instruments, there is no garlic or cross or anything that is going to scare any spirit, because they are not scared by these things. They are the only way to educate them is through love and through the understanding of the need to evolve. Okay? Any questions here? We still have more items here.
Okay. Number 8. All those who know the conditions in which good spirits communicate and their aversion for anything that may have selfish interest, and who know how little it takes to keep them away, can never believe that high order spirits are at the disposal of the first person who comes along and evokes them for a price at a mediumistic session. Plain common sense rejects such a thought. Would it not also be a profanation to evoke for the price of silver the beings whom we respect or who are dear to us? Undoubtedly, one could obtain manifestation this way, but who could guarantee their authenticity? Frivolous and deceitful and cunning spirits, and a whole multitude of unscrupulous low-order spirits will always show up and are always ready to respond to any question asked of them, with no regard for the truth. Thus, those who desire serious communications must first ask for them seriously, after certifying the nature of the sympathies of the medium with the beings of the spirit world. Now, the first condition for attracting the benevolence of good spirits is humility, devotion, selflessness, and complete moral and material disinterest.
Here is the recipe, right? Here is a little bit of what we talk. Spirits, high order spirits, will stay away from those mediums that are only interested in material things. Frivolous, deceitful, and cunning spirits, low order spirits, will always show up and are always ready to respond to any questions asked to them. That's very important, right? When we are doing a work of charity, we are doing a sincere work trying to help those in need, we will be protected and connected to evolved spirit. When we are doing work that is not elevated, or we are doing work that is for material benefits, the superior spirits will stay away from it, and the less evolved spirits will be present. Now, let's make something very clear here. There are those that, out of desperation and lack of knowledge, go after these mediums and pay them to receive the help they think they need. If they have the merit, if they are in real need of receiving spiritual assistance from superior spirit, they will receive. But that's on the ones, the merit on the ones that are asking. We know that those, for instance, those healing mediums, right? Those mediums that can heal through physical effects, and that are popular. Some places in Brazil, especially, you have some of those, including one that was just arrested like 5-6 years ago, and it was condemned for life in prison for like more than 300-400 abuses of women. How come some people that went there were cured, some people were not, and some people were partially cured if it was a deceiving medium, right? What can we tell? Well, again, it depends on those that went there. Those that went there desperate, looking for something, that really believed that they could be cured and that deserved to be cured because they went through the experience. It was time for them to be cured, to find the healing. They may have been helped. Those that went there just out of curiosity, or those that went there and never believed in anything that was happening there, or were doubting, or that were really in need, but they had to go through their karma, they had to go through the experience, it was not their time yet, they won't receive anything. So it's important for us to understand here that those that go asking for help, if it's time for them to receive the help, if considering the conditions that they put themselves out there, they may receive the benefits that they need if it's their merit. Okay, so that's why some of them go to these mediums and receive the messages they need, even if the medium doesn't deserve to receive the assistance. The assistance goes to the one that when they're looking for help. But for us here, that we know better, if we pay a medium to receive the assistance, we are not likely to receive any assistance because we know better, and we shouldn't be doing things that we know are not going to be of any help to us. Okay. Okay. Next.
Number 9. Alongside the moral issue, a no less important consideration presents itself in connection with the very nature of the faculty. Mediumship could not be, nor will ever be, a profession, not only because it would be morally discredited and immediately compared with fortune-telling, but because a material obstacle is opposed to it. It is essentially transitory, fleeting, and changeable faculty whose permanency no one can count on. Therefore, it would always be a very uncertain resource to be exploited because it could fail at the moment in which it would be most necessary. A different matter altogether is a talent acquired through study and work, and which, for that very reason, is an asset from which it is naturally permitted to make a profit. Mediumship, however, is neither an art nor a talent, and that is why it cannot be made into a profession. It does not exist except through the concourse of spirits. If spirits are lacking, there is no longer mediumship. The aptitude may persist, but the practice is annulled. Thus, there is not one medium in the world who could guarantee the obtainment of a spirit phenomenon at any given moment. Exploiting mediumship is thus to make use of something that one does not really own. To state otherwise is to deceive the person being charged. What is more, it is not they themselves that they are making use of, but the spirits, the souls of the dead, whose concourse is put up for sale. Such a thought is instinctively repugnant. It is this sort of trafficking, degenerate into abuse, exploited by charlatanism, ignorance, incredulity, and superstition, that motivated Moses' prohibition. Modern Spiritism, understanding the serious side of the matter, to the discredit it has cast over such exploitation, has elevated mediumship to the category of being a mission.
Okay. So here Kardec tells us about the nature of the faculty, right? Mediumship cannot be a profession because there is a significant material obstacle to it, right? It's a faculty that can exist and disappear and depends on spirit. You cannot be a medium if no spirit wants to use you as a communicator. You can have the ability, the faculty, but you need the spirits. So if you need the spirits, it's not your work. You're just being an intermediary, right? And if you're being an intermediary, when you are charging for it, you are guaranteeing a result that you cannot, you're promising a result that you cannot guarantee. It does not exist except through the concourse of spirit, right? If spirits are lacking, there is no longer mediumship. Again, mediumship theory and spiritual world, and report what you have seen in the spirit world, right? So if you are if you have the ability to detach yourself from the physical body, experience the spiritual world, and come back and report what you have seen, you are being a psychic, not a medium. A medium is an intermediate. Okay, so you hear conversations between spirits in the spiritual world, you are a psychic. You see things happening in the spiritual world, you are a psychic. You report what the spirit have told you in the spiritual world directly through psychophony or psychography, you are being a medium. Okay. Can psychic charge for their work? It's a work that they do. It's their own. It does not belong to the spirit. Theoretically, you could. In practice, because there is a very fine line and a gray area between psychic abilities and mediumship abilities, you shouldn't, because it always is a slippery slope. But again, a psychic, when someone is using their own talents to they do their own work, they're not being intermediates, again, it's like another work that you do that you made an effort for it. But being a psychic is also a gift. So again, it goes back to being dangerous, charging for it, because you are going to expose yourself to risks that are not very rewarding. So again, Kardec talks about here about the risks of exploring mediumship. And then he brings a concept that's very interesting, right? Which is Moses' prohibition, which is something that is still being used by many religions and many beliefs that that Moses prohibited the communication with the spirit, so it is a sin. Moses actually prohibited first. He prohibited because it existed, right? You cannot prohibit something that does not exist. So first point here is there is the spiritual world and there is communication from the spirits. Otherwise, you wouldn't prohibit it. So he prohibited because they were, of course, abusing it. They were using the communication from the spirits to solve material problems, to use it for our daily issues. And again, remember, Moses were crossing the desert for 40 years with a lot of spirits that were very, very primitive spirits, imperfect spirits. So he had to bring education to them. He had to bring rules, otherwise he couldn't control them. So when he brought the 613 commandments, right, of which the first 10 are the ones that come from God, and the others were created by Moses, for there are more rules and regulations. They apply to that time. And as we evolve, the 10 commandments do not change because they are eternal. But the other commandments, they should change with time and with our needs. The prohibition, it's necessary at that time, but comes Spiritism that teaches us that the serious side of the communication elevates mediumship to the category of being a mission. And you think of Chico Xavier, you think of Divaldo, they are both missionaries that use mediumship as a way to elevate humankind to a better level. Okay, so again, reason and logic explains to us why mediumship has to be used free of charge and for help us evolve. Okay. The last item.
Okay, 10. Mediumship is something sacred that must be practiced in a holy and religious manner. If there is one type of mediumship that requires this aptitude most completely, it is healing mediumship. Physicians provide the fruit of their study, which they have made at the price of often painful sacrifice. Magnetizers provide their own fluid, oftentimes even their health, and they may charge for their practices. Healing mediums, however, transmit the healthful fluid of good spirits and do not have the right to sell it. Although poor, Jesus and the disciples charged nothing for the healings they obtained. Thus, those who do not have the financial means to support themselves should go and seek resources somewhere else other than in mediumship, and if necessary, devote to it only the spare time they have available. Spirits will take into account their dedication and sacrifices, whereas they will avoid those who intend to use mediumship as a means for material gain.
So, in conclusion here, he talks here about healing mediumship, right? First, he says that mediumship is something sacred that must be practiced in a holy and a religious or spiritual manner, right? And to be very careful with healing mediumship, right? And then he divides in 3 types. Physicians that provide the fruit of their study, which they paid for it, with often painful sacrifice. So they charge for the work, and it's only fair that they charge for their work. They study for it. Magnetizers, we talked about them. At the time of Kardec, magnetism was something recent. Kardec started and was very interested in magnetism and mesmerism. Mesmer brought the concept of magnetism. They provide their own fluid, and here fluid, like defined in the note, we call fluid those states in which matter is even more refined than it is in the gaseous state, right? Gabriel Delan. So the concept of fluid has changed throughout the years, but here when we're talking about fluid, is the energies the magnetizers provide. Those that heard about Reiki, right? Reiki is a form of magnetism, right? So those that practice Reiki, that charge for it, there's not necessarily anything bad from it, because they're using their own magnetic energy. We know that spiritual energy is always evolved. But healing mediums, however, transmit the fluid of good spirits, so they do not have the right to sell it. So these healing mediums that charge for it, they are creating all sorts of problems for them. And then Kardec talks to us, did Jesus charge for any healing? Did the disciples charge for anything? If they didn't, and we follow Jesus' teachings, we cannot charge. And more important, here he concludes by saying, those who have not the financial means to support themselves should go and work somewhere else and use their mediumship when they have time, only in their spare time, right? Again, we go back to Chico and to Divaldo when before they were retired. They would work, they have their professions, they would work during the day, and they would practice mediumship in their spare time. Chico would go from his work to the Spiritist Center and work until 2 a.m. and then wake up at 6 a.m. to start a new day of work. And there is this famous story that one day his friends he was young, his friends convinced him to go out with them at night. And he went with them, and they didn't do anything wrong, because Chico would never do that. But he was out with friends, having a good time. And then he wakes up the next morning and he's exhausted. And he asked Emmanuel, "Why am I exhausted every day? I sleep at the same time. That's the same amount of time I sleep every day." Emmanuel told him, "When you are working to help others, we are here to give you the energies you need. When you are having good time for yourself, we are not going to here to assist you in replenishing your energy. So you are tired because you didn't do anything good." So again, spirits will take into account their dedication and sacrifice, whereas they will avoid those who intend to use mediumship as a means for material gain. So there is plenty of explanations here in this chapter about why we would do it for free, give it for free what we receive for free, especially in mediumship, in healing mediumship, in communications from the spirits. This is the chapter, if someone wants to really understand, and someone that comes to a Spiritist center is new and really wants to understand why a Spiritist center doesn't charge for anything, and why the mediumship work is done for free. These are the explanations, and this is the chapter that we have to show them if they're really interested. If they're not interested, then we shouldn't waste our time in discussions, because if I remember one American that used to come to our center, and he didn't agree with it at all. He was always trying to find arguments that you could charge for mediumship. He even found in the medium's book something that said that mediums could charge. And at a certain point, I gave up trying to teach him, because if you don't want to accept it, you won't. So again, the lessons are here, the instructions are here. We follow if we want, and we give to those that are interested if they want. Okay? So with this, we finish the chapter. I open for questions and comments. We're now going to go into the next chapter, which is Ask and You Shall Receive. And we're going to talk about prayer a lot. And I'm sure Elmo is going to do a very good work in it. He teaches and understands the concept better than I do on prayer. So he will help us through it. Okay? Any final comments, questions? I hope it helped. Wayne, yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, I had technical difficulties earlier. Early on, we had a, we were reading the part where prayer is an act of charity. Could you just go over that? Because I was coming in late from my technical difficulties.
Okay.
Trying to understand how prayer is an act of charity.
Yes. Prayer is an act of charity because we are helping ourselves or helping others, right? When you are sincerely praying for the, world peace, for instance, even if you are 1 in 8 billion, your energy will be connected to the spiritual benefactors and will help the effort of the evolved spirits, and also will elevate you in the sense of being connecting you to more elevated spirits, to your guardian angels, your familiar spirits. So it's an act of charity because you are donating your time to help those in need. You are donating your time to help you become a better person. You are being charitable with yourself. Our first responsibility is with ourselves to evolve morally and intellectually, because if we're not helping ourselves, we are running the risk of becoming a burden to others, right? If we need others to help us. So the prayer, in the sense of an act of charity, is in the sense that you are making yourself more open to be of assistance to those in need, and the energies you are sending to the spiritual world are healing energies that will help benefit those in need also. Okay?
Thank you.
Any other questions? Oh, yes.
There was just we were talking about how paying someone to pray for you isn't, this person doesn't have any skin in the game. He doesn't have any heart in it. And I thought about, my family, my close family, we used to be Roman Catholics, and when people die, we still buy mass cards at the church for them. and I thought, gee, it's just a habit that this is what you do when people die. And it's of, it seems silly, that some people who have no interest in this are just repeating the words and names and saying something.
Yeah, and again, it doesn't mean that it's not going to benefit the departed one, right? Because what benefits them is our thought and our love for them. So if you have a mass for, in Brazil, you have a mass 7 days after the death, 30 days after the death, sometimes 1 year after the death, right? The Catholic beliefs in Brazil. And, you have, let's say, the 7th day. You have, the church is full of people there, and that most of them are there just for social conventions that they need to be present. But there are some sincere ones, the ones that are really missing, the ones that need a place to send their sincere prayers. So the one that had passed away, it's going to benefit receive the benefit of the sincere one. Is it necessary? It's not necessary. Is it going to make a difference? It can make a difference if it's what you need, right? Like lighting a candle when you are praying at your home. Is it necessary? No. If it helps you elevate your thought and concentrate, because the light of the candle helps you concentrate and it helps you, then fine, light a candle, right? That's what it's important to understand, that it may benefit, it may help the deceased one. You know, there are a couple of books, one by André Luiz, one by the spirit brothers Jacob, called I Return, that talks about the burial, right? And people that go to the wake, and how sometimes it's better that the deceased one are not at their own wake, because they're going to end up maybe being disturbed by what they are hearing there. Some people go to the wake and talk about, talk badly about the deceased one, or talk about football and sports instead of paying any attention. Go for the food, go for, to see the other, to see who's present there. Oh, that one didn't show up. Can you believe they didn't show up? So that can all be a disturbance to the one that is deceased, and it may force the spirits to create barriers of protection for the loved one, for the deceased one. But I'm not going to say that it's a waste of time, because every time there is a sincere person praying and thinking about a loved one deceased, this person is helping and is sending good vibration.
Thank you.
Okay, so next Sunday, which is the third Sunday of the month, we are going to be studying the Medium's book. Elmo will be here to conduct it. I will be giving a lecture in Portuguese there in Newark, in the other center, Wayne, in Love and Light, because next week it starts the Spiritist Week of the Tri-State that happens every year. This is the 23rd edition, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. There will be events at all the centers, and there is a person coming, Arthur Valadares, coming from Brazil. He's a very good speaker, talks beautifully about the gospel. There are two public presentations by him on Friday at the Long Branch Spiritist Center, which is going to be in Portuguese with translation, and on Saturday in Newtown in Connecticut, also in Portuguese with translation. So Saturday the 21st, Friday the 20th, Saturday the 21st, and there will be other events in other Spiritist centers around the Tri-State area, mostly in Portuguese, but some of them in English. You are going to have one at Divine Light in English, Wayne, by Dulce, and Peter Hayes is giving one at Inner Enlightenment Spiritist Society on Tuesday the 17th. So, it will be, all the information will be on our email tomorrow, and if you need more information, if you want to access, you need more instructions, please let me know. I can provide. Okay. Carol, can you do our final prayer, please? Carol?
Sorry, my mute. I don't know what was unstuck. I'm sorry. Yes. Thank you, John, very much for a great class. And thank you, Sarita, for reading today. And everyone who is here today, thank you for being here and participating. Infinite Creator and Divine Providence, we give thanks for the opportunity again to be together for our studies of the Gospel according to Spiritism, our chapter being chapter 26, Give freely what you have received freely. Paying for prayers and healings is unnecessary. Gifts from God are given freely, therefore no fees should be charged for these benefits. Also, holy things and religious merchandise are not needed for the greater connection to God. Mediumship is a free gift of God and available to everyone, everywhere. It should not be a profession necessarily. We all have connections to spirit, and we can receive guidance and help for humankind as well as ourselves, our family, and loved ones. Excuse me. Ostensive mediumship should be used for the greater good and service to others, free of charge, not as a business. Ideally, this form of mediumship should be used in a protected space, such as the spirit rescue meetings in our center, SGNY. This is true charity in action with genuine support of the spiritual benefactors who are loving and caring. We give thanks today to our spiritual benefactors, the good spirits, the helpers, the healers, for guiding us and inspiring us. May we receive the love, light, and peace of Christ within us. For our loved ones, our teachers, the directors, our counselors, the mediums, the workers, and all those who are connected and receiving the teachings and lessons online. We pray for inner peace and world peace, and for those who are suffering in the physical and spiritual worlds. We pray for SGNY and all Spiritist centers throughout the world, that they may grow, they may prosper, they may expand, and always be protected. As we close, we humbly ask for safety and protection as we return to our family, friends, loved ones, and co-workers, where we are never alone, and goodness, grace, and guidance is always with us each day. May we go forth now as beacons of light, of peace, of love, of service, and of heartfelt charity. So be it.